time with our elders are crucial. I think that connection with our elders are crucial because suicide wasn't a part of our culture, and it isn't a part of our culture, and we've let it become a part of who we are, and we shouldn't do that. It might have happened once every blue moon, but now it happens for us almost once a month, once a week. I think lack of identity and loss of culture is a big one. I think plays a big part. I think without your culture and your identity, like you don't know who you are, like a loss of sense of belonging. Like when you see, you know, your mum and dad fighting, and your father flogging your mother, and then, you know, as a young man you grow up and think that that's okay, and then you start to do that with your family and your little family, and you think that that's okay, and that's just a cycle that needs to be broken, you know. If we need help, we need help now. Like we don't need to be seen 6 weeks down the line, 7 weeks down the line. We need to be seen and heard now. And I think a lot of people non-Indigenous people realize how strong their connection to country is, and how much of an influence it is. Being on country affects how you feel. I really feel myself when I'm on country, and whether that's fishing, oystering, whatever it is. We need people to be able to walk with us to fix the problem, not to walk on top of us, looking down on us, telling us what to do, or to sit in these high places and say, this is what needs to be done. Because everyone always says, oh, put money into this, put money into that. But there's money there that's already there that's just not being used properly. No one's saying it from our perspective. They're saying it what they see, not what we feel. But if we can't fix it now, then I think it's going to be 100 times more worse for our future generations to come. Like our people will just continue to be statistics.
Me personally, I've been directly affected by it, both on a family level and also in a relationship. Even though how much we loved those individuals or supported them, it hurts that the fact that the only option they felt was to actually commit suicide, and most of the time it was during late hours when nobody was awake or no service providers were around, that they felt that they were in their most darkest moments. In each family there's always one person who is the go-to person, and these people are becoming overwhelmed, but also they are so under-resourced, but yet we are here pumping millions of dollars into service providers that are not actually meeting the needs of our most vulnerable people in our community. I think we have to, you know, really look at how we market and sell these sort of services within our communities. There should be more support services, and without that stigma that's attached to mental health support or mental health issues. I think a lot of it is around the transgenerational effects of past government policies, but also how our community has sort of suppressed the voice and opinions of young people. Engagement of young people needs to be there. You know, these people not only understand what's happening with their families, but they can also identify the solutions to some of these issues. Even though that I had suggestions on how best they could engage with us, or how they could design a program that would meet the needs of our young people, we were never given that opportunity to actually participate in that practice. Aboriginal cultural systems need to be embedded into mainstream practices, because that is how we've been able to maintain and support our families over a millennia. Whatever comes out of the Coronial Inquest into youth suicide into Kimberley, it is meaningful to our mob, and it's not just a document that's going to just sit on the shelf. I really hope government does really look at this as a principal document for prevention and suicide prevention within the state of WA.
Found out that one of my closest friends tried to commit suicide, and because I was in a really shitty place, that's when I knew that, you know, I wanted to help. Going through a lot of hard stuff in my teenage days, and I didn't know which service would help me. I didn't even know Brahms could help me, and it breaks my heart that that young people feel like it's the only option for them, when it's not. There's services that could help them. And I think it's mainly in the Indigenous boys that can't express their feelings, so they build it up to a point where they feel like fighting and doing drugs and alcohol is the only way. I feel like sometimes they don't know, or they don't even have the confidence to go up to the services and ask for help.
I've had some pretty close friends and some pretty close family commit suicide. Just actually, we've had that Kimberley Aboriginal Youth Suicide Prevention Forum. 4 days after that, my sister committed suicide, which is pretty harsh. But it just shows you how real the problem is, the issue is. I don't think a lot of people have the hope, or have the confidence that going to visit one of those places are actually going to help them in the end. And in small towns and communities, everybody kind of knows each other, and maybe people aren't really aware that there's that doctor-patient confidentiality there, but people are still scared that someone's going to find out their story that they don't want to talk about. I think there needs to be more examples shown that health organisations or other options are actually helping people, and breaking that cycle of shameness as well. There's that lack of belonging, or lack of purpose, lack of meaning, I guess. Everyone asks themselves at some point, is like, what am I doing here, or what am I supposed to be doing tomorrow, or what's my pathway, where am I going to? And that's where that lack of connection to culture or country really gets to kids, really gets to people. Because if you understand who you are, where you're supposed to be, who you're supposed to be, where you sit in the family or in your community, then you just automatically you get a sense of purpose. I think there needs to be more attention on the families as a whole, rather than just focusing on the kids. Because if there's problems at home all the time, bringing the kids into a healthy or positive environment for a few hours a day or even all day is not going to make a difference, as long as they're going back home into that place, I guess.
Ones that's most particular to the young people is lack of role models, so not having somebody to look up to in sad times. So if something does happen, the passing of a family member, and when they feel that sadness, they don't have that person to turn to. So I guess you can't eliminate sadness. You're gonna feel sad. It's just not having the skills to deal with it is probably one of the big issues for these young people. Yeah, so some of the most empowering moments of my youth and my childhood were when I had one or two role models, like family members, like uncles and older brothers, that used to take us out onto our country to go fishing, to go hunting, or just to get out of town, out of the rush of town and the society that we're surrounded by, like social media. Yeah, getting out there, I guess, is a good way to clear your head, especially when you go out with people that know a bit about the country. So role models that have that sort of experience, and they've been taught from somebody else before them, and they pass that down, and that is like empowerment for us, because we know that along the line we're gonna have to pass that down, and it's gonna be our duty to keep up with those practices, those cultural practices. Since I've been employed by Yaru, the best thing about our job is getting to go out on country 3 to 4 times a week, all year round, and that's one of the most significant changes for me in my life. Like, I've been fishing on the weekends, and I've done stuff that's on country, but not as consistent and not actually contributing as much as we contribute to the land. So being out there gives us this sense of pride, the sense of it's hard to put in words, but you get a feeling that's inside you that gives you like empowerment. It makes you feel like you have a purpose, you're there for a reason. So for example, we fence off these natural soaks on areas where we go hunting, so places that we're familiar with, and we fence off these natural soaks from the cattle, and we go back there a few weeks later or months later, and we get to see that change when we go hunting. So that sort of feeling, I think it gives you purpose, it gives you something to strive for, something to live for, and you can pass that down. So I always educate whoever we are hunting or fishing with when we go out on country to make sure we look after the place, to respect it. I notice with some other kids that are in those hard times but have resorted to crime or stuff that gets them in trouble with the law, and they've been referred to these services like Headspace and other services that deal with troubled kids by the juvenile justice. So really they've just been pushed into that system, or pushed into that place and told they need to talk about their problems. So really that would shy you away a bit, getting pushed in rather than getting asked to come in, or feeling that somebody's reaching out to help you.
You know, I believe in this theory that, you know, if a stolen generation grandmother was never shown the love that she deserved, that is then passed on to her children, and you know, they I believe, you know, wouldn't be loved by their mother, the grandmother, because she was never showed love, you know. And then I think that then there's our generation who don't also receive that love, and that's the cause of intergenerational trauma from our grandmother, from the grandmother being oppressed and being a part of the stolen generation and being told what to do and what not to do emotionally. And I think through our DNA that then gets transferred to the next generation and so forth to our generation, and that cycle will continue to go to relapse over until we really acknowledge that and put some really serious investment into healing. There needs to be serious investment into Aboriginal people to take control of our own lives. You know, things aren't going to change overnight, so maybe if the investment starts now, then things will start to drastically change, because then we're having a person, like say for instance somebody who has lived and breathed this situation, who in their lian knows the solutions, knows the roads or the hiccups that another young person is going to face, you know, because it ain't just all black and white here in the Kimberley. And that's why I believe that there are a lot of suicides that do happen. But I think there needs to be serious investment into young people. There needs to be serious investment into succession planning. You know, if we as young Aboriginal people are going to be the leaders of tomorrow, well, what is the rest of the community, or what are our current leaders doing so that we can become that leader of tomorrow? What are they doing today for us to become the leaders of tomorrow? It's unfortunate to say, but suicides will continue to happen unless there's drastic changes from all levels, from government to community people to me and you as individuals.